it's Muon, and welcome to the second video in my How to Crochet for Absolute Beginners series. In our last video, I think I covered a lot of different things from materials to chaining, slip knots, single crochet, front loop only, back loop only, and then a bunch of extra stuff. If you are totally unfamiliar with any of those concepts or you need a refresher, please go and watch that first video. I'll put it somewhere for your convenience. I'm not really going to be reviewing them in detail again. I'm only going to be doing a quick recap of the techniques that overlap with the ones that I'm going to be introducing to you today. So there are two more foundational stitches that I believe every beginner should learn. That's the slip stitch, which is also called the slip stitch in the UK, I believe, and then the half double crochet, which is called the half treble crochet in the UK. And I've specifically grouped these two stitches together because they can be used for something called ribbing. So if you look at a sleeve cuff or the neckline of a sweater, the waistband of a sweater, and it's got a bunch of these vertical column type things grouped together, and each column is made up of these little V things. That's typically ribbing, and you'll know because it's super stretchy. I'm going to show you how to do different ribbing techniques later, and I'm going to start off by introducing the slip stitch. Alrighty, I have my trusty weight 4 acrylic yarn and my 4mm hook. Say it with me, everybody. 4, 4, 4, 4. Alright, forgive me if that was a bit condescending, but I just find it kind of fun to say it in a Dora-esque fashion. Basically, the easiest way to match our yarn size and our hook size is to match the number of the size of the hook to the number of the weight of the yarn. And I am going to quickly do a slip knot and a foundation chain. If you don't remember how to do those things, they're totally unfamiliar, or you're not even sure where to start, please go back to that other video that I've mentioned, because I'm going to be recapping quite quickly in this section. Right. So, tail end of the yarn drapes over your two crabby fingers away from you. Take the tail, go over the ball yarn, two crabby fingers grab over and grab the ball yarn, pull through this loop, pull the tail yarn tight, put your hook through, and then pull the ball yarn until it's not too loose, not too tight, but just right. No rug burn in this house. All right, so when we are setting up our tension, we have our non-dominant hand. We go over the pinky, under the pinky, up, behind these three fingers, turn your hand, grab your thumb and your middle finger and hold them around the base of your stitch, or whatever fingers are comfortable for you. And when we slip stitch, as is true with actually most of the foundational stitches, it doesn't matter how many chains you do or how many stitches you end up working. There are sort of elaborate stitches or fancier stitches that require you to say only have an odd number of stitches, only have an even number of stitches, or do a multiple of 4 plus a certain number of chains. But again, in this case, you can do whatever you want. And I'm going to quickly chain, so chain when you yarn clockwise, grab the yarn, pull through the loop, pull through the loop. I'm just gonna do maybe 8. 8's a lucky number, right? Okay, and as I mentioned in the previous video, you can go into this front loop, or rather, this is the front loop technically, and then the back loop, or you could go into here, or you could go, technically you can go into anywhere, live your life. But what I like to do is I like to turn it over, and then I go into the spine of the chains. The first stitch is our turning chain, meaning that when we make the stitches themselves, we're going to have the number of chains minus 1 stitches, right? And I'm going to go into this spine. And here is our base for singles or slip stitching, right? Now when we slip stitch, it's very easy for things to get very tight and very tense very quickly, more than any of the other stitches in my experience. And it was actually the slip stitch, so I have a bit of a mixed feelings, a bit of a bittersweet relationship, but it was the slip stitch that catalyzed my tennis elbow. So really, you gotta be careful here. We gotta see my tension is actually quite loose, right? Normally I have it taut. Here, I'm just gonna make it kind of loose. And I'm going to yarn over, grab the yarn, pull through, and pull up one loop. And when we single crochet, we would pull through these 2 loops, right? But instead of that, we're actually gonna pull through again to the second loop and make 1 loop. And that's your slip stitch. You sort of just slipped it through everything, right? And I'm gonna do that another time. Go into the chain spine bump thingy, yarn over clockwise, pull through, pull up a loop, and then we pull that first loop that we just made into the loop that was already on our hook. So we basically pull through both, right? And then we're gonna do that again. Go into the chain bumped spine thing, yarn over, grab the yarn, pull through everything. Go through the back, yarn over, pull through everything without yarning over again. Go through the back, yarn over, pull through, or pull up a loop, pull through. Again, do not yarn over a second time, because then you'll have a single crochet. Okay, one more time, pull through, and then yarn over, pull up, pull through. See, I'm trying to keep it as loose as possible here because it is very hard to work into tight slip stitches. It's so hard. So you want to be extra kind to yourself, extra gentle, so that you're saving yourself some heartache and headache down the line. Now that we're at the end of the row, as per usual, we're going to chain 1, turn our work away from us, away. And when we do a standard slip stitch, we go, like when we single crochet standard, or in the standard way, we go under the V that is created. So I'm going to put my hook under both of the loops, so under the V, and slip stitch. So yarn over, pull through, pull up a loop, and then very loosely pull through the loop that's on our hook. And we're going to do that again. Go under the V. Sometimes I like to do 1 loop at a time because again it is kind of tight, and then we go yarn over, pull up a loop, pull through, and you just do that again and again and again and again, however many times you want. And since it takes quite a bit of time for slip stitches to build up, I actually had the foresight to pre-make this little piece. After you do a whole bunch of rows, you're gonna have something to this effect, right? It's kind of like when we did the front loop only single crochets, where you have this very pronounced line, and this line is actually the V shape but turned over, right? So they're almost like when you're taking a group photo and the photographer tells everybody to sort of stand like this so there's space for everybody instead of being straight, kind of turning a little. That's how each row is. The V's are almost tilted at an angle. This is kind of stretchy, I would say. And I guess if you wanted to, this is a form of ribbing that you could use, but there is a more standard form of ribbing, which I will show you here. See here, instead of the V's being turned or at an angle, there's so much space that everybody can show their full front to the camera when they're taking the photo. And this is way stretchier than the regular standard, you know, under the V slip stitch, because we're actually only slip stitching into the back loop. And I'm going to show you that now that you can sort of see the difference. Right, so everything we did the same. We slip knotted and then we chained, then we did a foundation of slip stitches into the spine. And now I'm going to chain one, turn my work, and I'm going to go into the back loop only, which, as you recall, the front is towards us, the back is away from us. So I'm going to go into the back loop, or stabbing down, and I'm going to pull up a loop and just pull through. Again, we are not yarning over again because that would be a single crochet. We go clockwise, pull up a loop, pull through. Back loop only, stab down, stab down, clockwise, pull up a loop, pull through. Stab down, clockwise, pull up a loop, pull through. And then, so if you want your piece to be cleaner but not as stretchy, you can put actually your final stitch into this chained piece. This, you see there's a V and then the V has a cap on it almost. See, hopefully it shows up in the camera, right? Over here, there's a little cap. So if I wanted to have a very neat end, I could put it into this cap actually, or the chain, and do my slip stitch that way. And that makes it kind of tighter. It doesn't stretch as much. But again, if you're going for appearance over functionality, you can't do it that way. But generally, I prefer to do it, you know, the standard way. I'll go into the back loop only again, because I want it to be stretchy. And it's a little hard to get the last one, especially after I pulled that chain. All right, here we go. So that is the slip stitch, both standard and back loop only ribbing. Okay, y'all, bear with me because I have let the intrusive thoughts win. I want to try to do one of those, you know, TikTok transition things. So, alas, oh no, my yarn is such a mess. But when I put my hand over your face, magic. Now I have a chain. I think that was actually horrible, but nonetheless, I have a chain now, and I've also satisfied that curiosity. So with this chain, I'm going to be showing you how to half double crochet, but before we do that, I actually have to explain something else first. Why don't we imagine that this omurice ducky is one single crochet, and if I put another one sort of here, we have a half double crochet. It's 1.5 the height. Now I have a double crochet, twice the height, triple crochet, 3 times the height, quadruple crochet, 4 times the height, and so on and so forth, right? My infinitude, actually, is that the right word? I don't care. My infinitude crochet is many times the height of the single crochet, but the width is the same. And because of this, what people like to do, or some people like to do, is when they are doing a turning chain, they like to chain more than one. So if I had a double crochet, someone might chain 2 as opposed to 1, and then they would use that to turn. And sometimes they either use that double as a representative of one stitch, for example, 1 double crochet, and then they'll just keep going from there, or they will, you know, ignore that stitch and just use it as a turning, and then have number of chains minus 2 equals total number of stitches. I don't like to do it either way because I find that the width of a chain is not equivalent to that of a single crochet, even if the height may be the same. So I'm gonna just move these doubles back over. Oh no, not my white paper. Oh well. C'est la vie, I suppose. To actually start doing the half double crochet, we have our chain, and again, like I mentioned, we're just going to kind of ignore everything else I say just previously and take only that we are going to do standard, ignore the first chain as the turning chain, the hinge, and go into the second spine or the second bump or whatever from the hook. 1, 2. Ignore the first one, go into the second one. And we're not actually just going to go right in like we do with slip stitching or single crocheting. Here is where half double crochets and stitches beyond that kind of differentiate themselves. What we do is we actually go with our hook counterclockwise. Yeah, I think this is counterclockwise, right? This is the last time I kept messing up and I was in my head. But yes, this is counterclockwise. So we're gonna take our hook, we go counterclockwise, and we kind of go under the yarn and then up, right? Counterclockwise under and then up. So now we have this almost half loop, or this loop that wants to be closed, plus this loop from the chain. Now that we're holding this loop on the hook, just be careful. When you first start out, it might just fall off, so you can put your finger on it. I don't have to because I'm kind of used to it, but I'll just put my finger on it. And then we will go into the second bump from the hook, or the second chain, or the second spine, and we'll just pop through. Now we're gonna just, like regular, yarn over clockwise, pull up a loop, make sure the loops are even, and we should have 3 loops on our hook now. And what we do is we're gonna yarn over clockwise, we're gonna pull through all 3, and that is a half double crochet. Now I'm gonna show you again. I'm gonna go counterclockwise, under, over, and then into the spine, yarn over clockwise, pull through, pull up a loop, 3 loops on the hook, pull through all 3. Again, counterclockwise, under, over. Now that we've had that wrapped around through the spine, and then we go clockwise, yarn over, pull through, pull up a loop, and then we're gonna have 3 on the hook, and then clockwise, pull through all 3, and again, counterclockwise, wrap, stab, clockwise, pull up, 3, pull through all 3. Again, and again, and then one more time, counterclockwise, wrap, stab, pull, or rather, clockwise. Oh, I think I missed some. All right, clockwise, pull up a loop, and then we pull through all 3. All right, so that's your first row of half double crochets. Just take a quick look at it, right? We have this front part that kind of almost looks just like regular single crochets, and then we go to the back and we see this row of V's. See if you can see the V's, right? Row of V's. But also when we turn upwards, there's another row of V's. Oh my gosh, all right? So think about it like a roof made of V's. There's V's on this side and then V's on this side, but they share this one loop. So both rows of V's share one side, right? Almost like your neighbors sharing a fence with you or something, right? But when we work into the half double crochet, let me just do a chain here. Although we can work into any loop, as I mentioned, free will, when we half double crochet regularly, we don't go through this back one, but the top one, right? So if I, from closest to furthest away from me, I would say 1 loop, 2 loops, 3 loops. I go into the second and the third loops of the V, right? Or of the many options of V's in this case. So I'm going to yarn over counterclockwise, go through actually we can go through this front facing V so that we can go under the top facing V. Almost like we're ignoring the fact that this is a half double crochet and pretending that it's just a single crochet. Then we yarn over, pull up a loop, pull through all 3. I think I've worked this yarn too much. It's rebelling against me. All right, we're gonna do that again. Yarn over, counterclockwise. Now that we have that loop, we're going to stab through the front facing V and under the top facing V, right? Yarn over, pull up a loop, pull through 3. And again. Remember, we're going under this one, under this, but through this. Or if that's confusing, just ignore this whole part and just pretend that this is a single crochet, right? And then just go under the V. Going under the V that's on the top. Right? I'm gonna go wrap, stab, pull up, pull through, wrap, stab, pull up, pull through, wrap, stab, pull up, pull through, wrap, stab, pull up, pull through. And now we have 2 rows of half double crochet. Huzzah! Right? And this is kind of like the front loop only single crochet where we have this kind of line, but in the back, instead of a line, we have a trench. So imagine it as like, in order to make the trench on one side, we need the line on the other side. Okay, and now we'll move on to the ribbing. So this is half double crochet ribbing. It's not as stretchy as the slip stitch ribbing, but it does have this kind of cool effect where it's trench and then raised spine, trench, raised spine. So it's almost like the front loop only single crochet plus the crinkle cut of the, oh wait, what am I saying? It's the back loop only single crochet crinkle cut effect plus the ribbing of this slip stitch. Right, yes, okay, that's correct. How we do this is we are actually going to just have our chain, our foundation of half double crochets, right? And then we chain 1 to turn our work away from us. And we're going to go into the, again, from the closest towards yourself, 1, 2, 3, right? The back loop only. So the furthest loop away from us, part of the top V, that would be the furthest loop away from us. So we are going to yarn over counterclockwise, wrap, and then we go into just the back loop only. Stab down, pull up a loop, pull through 3. Wrap, stab only through the V downwards, grabbing only the back loop. Wrap clockwise, pull up a loop, pull through 3. Again. Again. And then, again. And then, one more time. So, just like that. Alrighty, so that is the back loop only or ribbing half double crochet. Alrighty, I hope that you were able to get something out of this video, and I just wanted to quickly let everyone know that I have set up a Ko-fi account. So if you can, if you feel comfortable, if you are excited to, please consider supporting me, my art, my work as an indie artist, my work as a small business person by donating to the Ko-fi linked in the description, and I put it on all my other social media platforms as well. Anything helps, and I would really, really appreciate any support that you could give me. With that being said though, I've been Muon, and I will be wishing you all the happiness in the world. Have a good day!